It's payday, fellas!
The high cost of housing is slowly making it harder and harder for the new generation to outright purchase a house. The situation is also not helped by the state of the market in general, coupled by the high cost of living. But are there benefits of renting over buying and vice versa? Hi and welcome to the Count Muller channel. Today we'll be taking a look at the pros and cons of renting or buying a house and break down how each of the two compare to you as a potential tenant or house buyer. With that out of the way, let's begin. A lot goes into the settling on where to rent or buy a house. Proximity to work, cost to buy or rent, size of the property, property tax, nearby amenities, schools, places of worship, and the big one, location. Location of your property does dictate how much it will cost to rent or be bought for. If you've ever gone through listings, then you'd be surprised what, for example, $2,000 a month would get you in one country or one state versus in another. Many of the people that want to either rent or buy also don't want to feel like they're accepting less in the long run. Thus, they have to make a few sacrifices for the house of choice. So a lot of due diligence is a must. Remember that the place you pick could essentially be where you spend the rest of your life, especially if you plan on buying. But what is renting? This is basically an action of temporary use of a property through an agreement between a landlord, who is the owner of the property, and the tenant, who is the one hiring through payment for a period to allow occupancy. The rent is the amount paid in fixed intervals, could be monthly or yearly. Factors to consider when renting. Property size is important if you have a really large family or just enjoy large spaces. Number 2 would be price, especially if you have an inconsistent income but want to be a tenant long time. Number 3 would be service charge. This is the cost paid for upkeep of your property, like maintenance of the clubhouse, trash collection, and gardening. Number 4 would be location and convenience. Proximity to malls, gyms, and workplace should be factored in. Number 5 could be property policy. Will they allow your golden retriever? Do they only want vegetarians? Yes, that's actually a thing. The next one would be parking. Are there slots for your vehicles and guests? Unit amenities could be up next. Clubhouse, swimming pool, and gyms for all your leisure activities. The agent or landlord, are they reasonable or accommodating? Are they easy to negotiate with, especially when it comes to lease agreement renewal? And the last one could be property safety. Do you really have to exercise your right to bear arms? Here are some of the pros of renting. Number 1. Easily the first benefit of renting is flexibility as to where you live, so your pockets determine your location of choice. Also, you are free to downsize to any affordable house that matches your budget along the way. Number 2. No maintenance cost or repair bills. That's your landlord's job. You already pay too much for rent as it is. Number 3. No property taxes. The burden of paying state and county property taxes is a thing of the past. Number 4. No down payment, but certain lease agreements require you to pay a deposit and a rent for a number of months upfront. The deposit will be returned to them upon moving out with prior notice or can be converted to rent upon agreement by the two parties. Number 5. Access to amenities. Imagine having to build an in-ground pool and pay gym membership. That's absurd. These come standard with most upscale complexes, so you're sorted. Number 6. Fewer concerns over property decreasing in value over time. Again, you're not the owner, so you'll be affected less when the housing market starts acting up. Number 7. Fixed rent. Any amount for the span of the lease agreement and any surprise increments will have you budget efficiently for the necessary payment. Number 8. Reduced insurance costs. The property owner might have to maintain a homeowner's insurance policy, and for the tenant is the renter's insurance policy, which is cheaper and covers almost all things owned. Number 9. Lower utility costs. Since the rental properties have a compact and efficient floor plan and thus are affordable to power and heat during the cold months. Now we move on to the cons of renting. Number 1. That pesky issue of rent increase at any given moment, especially if you didn't get a foolproof lease agreement. Number 2. Building equity is almost impossible when renting, as the property is not your asset. Number 3. There's a very few tax benefits to renters. Number 4. Any and all changes to your unit are subject to the landlord's approval. Number 5. Many rental properties have a no pet policy, but hey, you can get Beverly Hills Chihuahua for yourself. Number 6. Back to the landlord, and he or she reserves the right to evict you at any time, especially if they have to put the property up for sale. Number 7. You are bound to your lease agreement. Now move on to buying. This would essentially mean one-time purchase of any given property. Prior to property acquisition, the buyer searches for the house of interest, secures financing or mortgage options, makes the offer, gets a home inspection or appraisal where need be, and finally, when all things are done, they close in on the purchase. Some of the factors considered when buying. Here, the factors are the same as in renting. One must consider location since it will be your permanent residence. The size should be something of importance, especially if you have a big family. The third would be convenience and location. Is the property within all social and integral amenities? Also, unlike in renting, in terms of price, it is a one-time payment to acquire the house as your own, but you might need to get through the down payment, appraisal fees, and get a homeowner's insurance. The service charge will also be paid by you as the owner of the house. There's also the small issue of property tax, which you'll be paying monthly or annually depending on your country or state. Something to also look out for is the title deed and/or lease agreement. Property on certain land can be owned for 49 to 99 years before being reverted to the relevant body governing the land, such as the city or county government. Again, this depends on where you are from. There's a few advantages of owning the home over renting. Here's a few. Number 1. Tax advantages. The single greatest tax benefit of home ownership is the choice to deduct paid monthly interest from tax returns. Also, if you do use your property as a business, you could theoretically have costs reduced. A home office deduction might be used when the workspace is regularly used as a business and can be deducted as a home office expense. Now, these and many other provisions may expire in 2025, and it's best to check your local, state, or country laws before proceeding. Consulting the professionals is always advised. Remember, the taxman is watching. Number 2. No landlord issues. You are your own boss. No constant rent to pay each month or worry that it might be increased. No worries of an eviction notice and no dependency on anyone else but yourself. The back and forth in negotiations with the property owner during lease renewal is completely over. Number 3. Emotional security. When you have a ready place to go that is affixed and is your own completely, there's a sense of freedom, security, and peace of mind, knowing that there is comfort that awaits you. The uncertainty of a termination of a lease agreement is a thing of the past, and the annual problem of renewing the rent agreements is long gone. Number 4. The home is now an asset. Unlike paying rent, which is a monthly expense, by paying your equated monthly installments or EMI on your home loan, your equity in your home goes up. Yes, a mortgage will be a liability, but the saying, the end justifies the means, comes into play. Number 5. Availability of financing options. You can buy a home and have it fully paid off early enough before hitting retirement age. By exploring the available easy financing options, you can have a home paid off fully by the time you're in your 40s and 50s. If you wait too long for money to accumulate over time, then you might end up paying a higher price as the values of homes do increase over time. Thus, have a home loan lender with flexible repayment terms and interest rate to match your income, as well as consider the possible tax breaks the home loan might have. Now we move on to the cons of buying. Number 1. All repairs and maintenance costs fall on you. Number 2. You escaped monthly rent, but now you have property tax to remit. Must be nice. Number 3. Inflation and housing market crash may have you selling the house for cheaper than you originally bought it for, as it may lose value over time, thus you lose money on the investment. Number 4. If you live a wanderlust lifestyle or have a restless soul with a travel bug, then buying a fixed immobile home is not for you. Number 5. It's always more expensive to buy than rent unless you have infinite money, then go right ahead. Number 6. Homes are not liquid assets, which means when selling it, it might take longer than expected. So in conclusion, in the debate over buying versus renting, I think both seem as a great option, but again, each is dependent on your personal preference. Perhaps you don't necessarily want to buy and live within that house, but to simply rent it out as a means of getting another income stream. Also, on the other side, you probably feel like renting is more your thing because you travel a lot or move place to place due to the nature of your work, and you don't want to constantly have to get a buyer every other 3 months or 3 years. In both, a lot of commitment is crucial, and it's not a secret that in both options, utility payments every month are the other constant. And that's it for today's video. Are you planning on buying a house? Do you prefer renting? Tell me all about it in the comment section below. Remember to like and share the video, subscribe if you haven't, and turn on post notifications too. Till next time, stay safe, stay hydrated. Bye.